Hello dear YouTuber friends, and I hope you're all keeping well. Welcome to this new video. Now those wonderful people from Moza have forwarded me the Force Feedback Yoke and base. Something I've wanted to try for nigh on 20 plus years since I first saw a Force Feedback Yoke in the PC Pilot magazine, possibly in the days of Flight Sim X. Something I've always wanted to try, so in this video I'm going to be putting this yoke through a flight test, or through its tests in Flight Sim 2024, and I'm going to be answering the question myself. Is all the hype justified for Force Feedback Yokes? Will they deliver on my expectations on them? Well, I'll be showing you that in this video. I'll also be talking about, where you can buy this from, the costs and all that good stuff. Some of the software that you'll need to get it up and running. And at the end of the video, I'll come back and give my recommendations. And answer the question, of course, is all the hype justified? Let's not dilly-dally. Let's get on with this video. Now, just before I jump into Flight Sim 2024, a quick summary of the cost and features of this yoke and flight base. You buy the flight base and yoke separately. I'm going to link the Moza website down below. Of course, you'll need the yoke handle, otherwise the base is going to be useless. It retails, I'll put the UK price, the base £699, so £700 effectively, or the equivalent in your currency, and the handle is £149, or the equivalent in your currency. Altogether, that would be about £850. Now, some people may flinch on that, but Force Feedback has never been cheap. I mean, Brunner, when it first released, was about €200, £200. You can now buy, I'm mentioning Brunner, it's probably one of the main competitors for this yoke, Force Feedback yoke and base. You can now buy the entry Brunner for something like €1,250. This is a third less of the cost of that. It's 2/3 the cost of the entry Brunner system, which I believe represents good value for a Force Feedback yoke. Of course, this is going to be for the connoisseurs, for those who have the available funds to buy such a system. And, now, for sub £900, Force Feedback is becoming somewhat affordable for many of the masses. Comes, as always, with the Brunner products in a plush packaging, or packaging generally. Well protected. These are actually from the outside of the box just to keep it safe in transit. Excuse the disorganization mess of my room. I've got a lot of boxes in here which I'm still sorting out. Very well packaged. Manual comes with its own power supply as well, which is actually down there. Again, excuse the mess. But yeah, when you buy it, you know you're getting a good product from the actual packaging itself. And that's just for the base unit. Something else to keep in mind, it's a hefty base unit. Look how far. Thankfully, I've got a massive desk. I've looked on the website, which again is linked down below in the description. This weighs by itself, the base, 8 kilograms. Just be aware, if you're mounting it on a rig or a flimsy desk, well, you'll need a big enough desk to mount this. Just be aware of the weight though. This is the heaviest unit in terms of flight sim peripherals that I currently own. Massive weight. It's got a built-in switch panel and all kinds of buttons that you can play around with, flaps, landing gear, which works well in the sim as well. And on the yoke handle, it's even got autopilot functions there. Look at that. Apparently it's magnetic, so you can fit magnetic plates, your own magnetic plates to the front of this yoke as well. Fantastic. Excellent quality yoke handle as well. And this fits on via a clamping system. Basically on the back of the yoke there, you pull these two forward and then just fit it on to the base unit. Very nicely. Lots of hat switches, PLV switches, buttons, and goodness knows what. In fact, it's pretty much got everything you need to control the majority of aircraft in Flight Sim 2020 or Flight Sim 2024 or X-Plane or goodness knows what. Now listen, I can go on. I may come back to some facts and figures about the yoke and base later. I'm just very eager to show you this up and running in Flight Sim 2024. Let's go do that. Okay, my friends, I'm at Manchester Airport, my new home base in the UK, or roughly around there, in the Cessna 182. Let me just bring in the camera so you can see the yoke. There you go. Hope that's clear enough for you to see. You can see it rumbling on the ground there, purring away, ready for me to take off. Let's not disappoint it. Let's just release the parking brake. And I'll throttle up a wee bit there. Just make sure that I can keep centre line nicely without too much torque. That will do. I just want to try and maintain centre line. Runway 23 right. There's quite a lot of people around Manchester today, I've noticed, flying. I've had to go through a couple of airliners in my test. So get off to takeoff speed and up we go. Now, one thing this does remarkably well is when you raise your flaps or gear, you get a real feedback through the yoke. Let's raise our gear from the base. Can you hear that? See, oh, look at the yoke moving ahead there. So I did that, it went skyward. I'm just going to have to trim down. It's a force feedback kicking in. I believe this is replicated force feedback, so telemetry force feedback rather than native. Flight Sim 2024 doesn't support proper force feedback at this time, so it's all pretty much replicated per se through telemetry. But it does a damn good job, I've got to say. Right, with my gear up, let me just trim down a wee bit more now. There's no assignments set up on the yoke. You have to set them all up. And it just took me a matter of minutes. Let's face it, with Flight Sim 2024, we have to set up a lot of joysticks and yokes from scratch anyway. So it wasn't too much of a bother. I've just got the PLV or hat switch here set up as my trim. Let me just try and get myself in proper level flight here. Look at the yoke moving. The yoke's moving under my hand there. I'm going to try and show you that somewhat. Look. It's all moving there as it's hitting air pockets or replicating hitting air pockets. It's just gone down a little bit there. And it gives you a very realistic recreation of actually what your yoke would be doing in a real aircraft. That's what I like about this thing. Let me just descend towards the ground here. Sharp descent. That will do. I'm going to pull up. Nice. Really struggling to pull that. The force feedback kicking in there. It's saying no. I'm going to make that difficult for you. I've got engine stress turned on, people. Sorry. All assistance is turned off. And so I just overstressed the engine there. Let's give that another go. Oh, it's stuck autopilot on. Let's turn autopilot off. I've got some buttons set up, which I might show you a little bit later about that. Descend towards the ground. Actually, my trim's out of sync now. That's better. Descend towards the ground. And let's not crash this time. Let's not overstress it, Hodgson. Pull up. But I'm struggling to pull that up as the force feedback. There's a real weight and meaning behind this yoke. It's all done through the Moza software rather than sensitivities in the sim. Again, look, can you see the yoke moving? Look. That is absolutely fantastic. What I'm going to do in a moment is try and replicate a stall. Now, in the Cessna 182, I've noticed Flight Sim doesn't do it very well. Flight Sim 2024 doesn't replicate a stall very well in the Cessna 182. Being a bit finicky with my trim there. Let me just trim properly. Hands in the way there. I'm trying not to get my hands too much in the way so you can see the effects of the yoke itself. That will do. I'm going to go full, well, pretty much full power anyway. Really pushing this poor 182. Oof, good grief. Look, there's a lot of feedback there from that yoke. Don't know how much this is carrying across. You really have to try this for yourself to get a true appreciation for it. And the weight and feel. I've tried different aircraft, lighter aircraft, heavier aircraft. And depending on your settings again, the yoke reacts accordingly, which is fantastic. That's what I was hoping for. I'm going to try and stall this. Let's bring back that throttle. Oh, am I pulling that desk forward? I'm having to put a lot of effort to try and get that nose up. Try and get the stall warning. Wow, look, my whole body is shaking with that. The effects of that is pretty immense now. Come on, give me that stall warning. Like I said, it doesn't really replicate a stall very well, but I will get the stall warning, hopefully. Unless I'm going to crash again because of aircraft stress. Let's try this. There you go. Stall warning. It's not spinning, though. That's where I feel it should be spinning by now, but it's not spinning. But look at the amounts of feedback I'm getting from the yoke itself there, as you would expect. Let's put it out of its misery. Back on the throttle. Let's just see. Oh, look at the movements of the yoke when I leave go there. Obviously, you won't leave go in real life, but you can get an appreciation for the feedback you'll be feeling with this. Let's come in for a landing, people. Give this a go at landing. Try and make this part extended, because this is what I wanted to test. This is what you want to see, how the yoke performs in the sim. Now, where's the runway? I believe, yep, just ahead there. Is that Manchester Airport again? It looks like it might be. So we'll head back yonder. Couple of people around there. We're coming for a good old landing. Is this an airport below me, in fact? Can I get down quicker? I think it might be. Let me just zoom in a little bit. No, it's just a piece of land that looks remarkably like an airport. It's not. Like I said, there's no sensitivity. While we're doing that, let's stick it on autopilot. So, 1,300, 400 feet will do. Heading bug, I've got this hat switch set to increase and decrease my heading bug. Autopilot on, I'll hit heading on the front of the yoke there. It's gone into heading mode, it's in autopilot mode. Now I'm actually descending now. Let's just put a bit of vertical, positive vertical speed in there. There we go, I'll do that from the aircraft. And yeah, autopilot, I've only got heading and autopilot master. I've not assigned the rest of it nav, altitude, approach. But you can do that from the settings and it all works fine. So many different buttons and options there and hat switches. It's absolutely brilliant. I've got a force feedback yoke. Where's the fun of autopilot with a force feedback yoke? runway dead ahead there. That's brilliant. Let's just move that mouse. That might be a little bit distracting. Let's land. I think I'm going to land on the left runway. As they are doing fairly good speed there. Again, just leave go. See if you can see some of the movements, because I can feel them. Look, that's the kind of force feedback you're getting. Again, depending on your settings in the Moza app software, which I'm going to show you after this part of the flight. Depending how you set them, how realistic, how you feel it would be realistic for you in a certain aircraft, it can be an amazing experience. No, why is it suddenly dipping there? And it's going to behave differently from a normal, say, the XPC yoke or the Velocity 1 flight yoke. As soon as you have a level flight, you may see this as it hits an air pocket or replicates hitting some kind of, I've got it on live weather, so wind or whatever effects. You'll see the aircraft, there you go, descend or climb depending on how you've got the weather set and the elements around you. That is just pretty good, people. Not just pretty good. Very much amazed and surprised. I'll wait for my conclusion on that. I'm coming towards the runway. So runway ahead there. TG173 is leading the way. Oh, look. Hope the camera's picking this up. I'm just going to take a look. Yeah, I've got it concentrated directly on the yoke. Hope the light's good enough, and goodness knows what difficult one to judge. Both runways are clear. This one's closer. Bring back that throttle. Saying that, probably someone will take off directly in my path now. Head towards this runway here now, so I'm just having to... Although I'm nicely lined up with that left runway, aren't I? No, come on. Let's go on this runway. That left one's closed, the right one's open. Put that gear down. Oh, again, the rattling, rumbling and effects you get with that are pretty amazing. Bring back that throttle again. I'm high on the pappies, that's good for me. Bringing back that throttle, getting towards flap speed. Not set up my flaps lever on the base, so I'll do it from here. I've just not set it up. You can do it quite easily. There you go, at the right speed, right approach there. A little bit high, of course, but that's... Oh, wait, did I just hit another wind there? Oh, there you go. It's brought me pretty much in a perfect approach. That's good. Thank you. There you go. I'm a bit... Well, I can see the runway. I'm fine. Oh, what are you doing, yoke? It's giving me a lot of feedback. You can feel that vibration intensify as you come in for a land as well. That is wonderful stuff. Okay, let's just bring back that throttle. And we'll try and land nice and gently. And you can do all that with this yacht. Look at that. Can I ever go back to my XPC yacht now? I don't know, I'll just come off the runway here. And once we clear the runway, which is about there, just put on the parking brake. Raise my flaps. The yoke's still rattling and rolling. Amazing experience. Let me just take you to the software part for this yoke system. I'll quickly touch upon now the Moza software. Let's just make that full screen. That's better for you. The Moza software that drives all the force feedback and goodness knows what. I've got them all in the latest firmware, and that's important. And if we come down to the left here, this sort of arrow icon, you can go to Firmware Manager and update everything there. Keep an eye on this in future videos, by the way. I'll come back to that in a future video. So there you go, base. So let's go to the base. That's what drives the force feedback. This is where you can adjust it. You've got things like torque, overall feedback, intensity, spring, inertia, friction, game force, feedback gain, and all kinds of things. You got things like expert settings, dynamic force feedback, telemetry force feedback. That's all this stuff. So you can go through your heart's content and adjust all bits and pieces. It's really a thorough, very thorough piece of software there. Hardware trim mode. Have noticed when it's in autopilot, for example, the yoke won't follow what the autopilot's doing. That'll be a nice feature, Moza, if you can implement that. I know myself and Tony Dark Zero were talking about that. His recreation of force feedback apparently does that. Like to see a video about that, Tony? And you can start your calibration and all that kind of thing. So this is where you adjust it. And you pretty much have Moza Cockpit running in the background. Keep in mind, people, I'll put it somewhere in the title or description. Of course, this is for PC only. You're only going to get force feedback and that type of thing, at the moment at least, on PC, Microsoft Flight Sim. But yeah, a lot of different settings you can adjust to your heart's content there. And obviously, you would have to configure... go to the Moza either Discord or website for, I believe actually the booklet does describe some of this, explain how to get this up and running as well. We can go to the yoke session there. You can change the color. I've got a red tint on my yoke. You can change that to whatever color you want there. I'll put it back to the red I had. Oh, now it's gone a darker red. Just a moment. I've just got my yoke in front of me. That's the one I want. And adjust various different things there. You've got axis modes. You can have these as mapping instead. So your left, right stick, that type of thing. Then you can adjust all kinds of things there. Okay, I think now I'll take you to my conclusion and recommendation. Conclusions, recommendations on the Moza Force Feedback Yoke. Do I recommend this one? You know what? I knew I was getting it. I thought to myself, I'll give it a try. But I love my XPC yoke. I was going to be absolutely honest. I thought, you know, it'll give you a nice experience, but you can get on well with an XPC yoke or Velocity 1 flight yoke, that type of thing. Well, now I've tried it for a good number of hours and flights. I don't think I can go back happily to my XPC yoke. Now I have the ability and availability of the Moza Force Feedback Yoke. The realism and feeling it gives you is beyond anything I've tried. Has it delivered? Is the hype justified about force feedback yokes? Absolutely is. I didn't think this one would deliver. I didn't think it would give you the weight and characteristics and realism of aircraft flights, or feeling what it would be like to feel a real yoke of an aircraft as it moves through the sky and landings and goodness knows what. This one delivers on all fronts. Didn't talk too much about the quality of the yoke handle itself. Excellent quality, really, really thick handle. Nice grippiness to the side there as well. The functions you get on it. I think I overlooked this when I saw other videos of it, but these functions on the yoke itself and on the base, you don't really need anything apart from my radio panel. I don't need my multi-panel now with this, although I may still use it. I'm still very much in love with my multi-panel and certainly radio panel, but it gives you so much functionality. The only thing I don't like, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't like these hat switches, the material they're made of. They look cheap and they feel cheap as well. It's nice you can use these as an axis, or you can have them mapped as kind of buttons like mapping, as I showed you in the software before. But Moza, going forward, just a suggestion, if you can make these kind of rubberized at least, and even maybe a little bit darker, they look a bit out of place on an otherwise exceptional unit. This, like I mentioned before, is massive. It's full metal, full aluminium base as well. If you can afford this, people, you won't look back. That force feedback and the feeling it gives you can be a little bit stressful. That may put one or two of you off, because it feels like you're flying an aircraft and your concentration levels suddenly have to be a lot sharper when you're flying aircraft, even aircraft like the Cessna 182. Yeah, amazing stuff. If you can afford it, you're on PC Flight Sim. If you can't afford it and you can save up for it, huge recommendation from me. So there you go. That's my review of the Moza Force Feedback Yoke. The hype is justified. Let me know your thoughts. Give the video a like if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe for more. And I'll see you soon.